I adopt a very holistic approach. And I like to look at 3 pillars: financial well-being, physical, and the final pillar, mental well-being. So what is mental well-being? And a disclaimer, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a doctor, but mental well-being is a very important pillar. Mental well-being helps you, and how this is related to financial well-being, it provides you that ultimate peace of mind. It provides you that financial security, and it helps you in reducing financial stress. If your money and your finances are all over the place and you have no clue what is going on, how can you have peace of mind? If you haven't planned for the future, if you can't pay your bills every month, you're not going to have financial security. You're going to be stressed. So having a good control of your finances provides that ultimate peace of mind and mental well-being. Now, researchers are finding more and more connections between finances and health. And these symptoms go far beyond stress. In a society that has tripled its debt since the 1980s, heart disease, stroke, and mental illnesses are on the rise, and finances are partly to blame. Now, there are a lot of statistics on the page, and I'm just going to go through it very quickly, but these are real numbers, okay? And this was done by the 2019 Cigna 360 Wellbeing Survey. This was done pre-COVID, and I'll be very interested to see what these numbers and statistics are after last year's pandemic. Do you know that 92% of working Singaporeans feel stressed? That's higher than the global average of 84%, but even then 84% of global citizens feel stressed. 77% of UK residents are stressed about money. 72% of Americans are stressed about money, and money is a top source of stress for most Americans and Singaporeans. And it actually causes a lot of stress in relationships. The social and economic benefits are huge. When you look at sick leave, okay, that's a cost to an organization. Do you know that more than 500,000 workers suffered from stress in the UK? And this resulted in a loss of 12.5 million working days, cut to the economy of $40 billion. And stress also breaks down our body. And actually, it increases poor decision-making and starts a vicious cycle of ill health and economic hardship. You cannot think when you're stressed. You cannot think when you're going through a bad stage in your life, whether you're losing your job or you're getting divorced or separated or there's a death in your family. You know, the stress and emotions are rocket sky high. So it is so important that you be able to take control of this. There's an old age saying that health is wealth, okay? And when you're stressed, you're depressed, you're anxious, you get migraines, ulcers, digestive issues. You know how many women have told me that they just bloat when they get stressed? Yeah. High blood pressure, heart attack, disrupted sleep, weight gain, shame. The list is endless. So there's a real big correlation between your health and your overall well-being, and ultimately your wealth. The next pillar is about physical well-being and protection. Okay. Now, when it comes to protection, what are we doing is protecting our body, protecting our lives, protecting our loved ones. This is so important. When we're protecting our bodies, we're talking about eating well, we're talking about sleeping, we're looking at having enough health insurance. Do you have insurance? Don't you have insurance? Do you have enough insurance? Do you need insurance? Okay. If you have children, Are they protected if you're not around? Some very, very important concept to think about. And I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into the protection side later in the webinar. And I'm going to explain to you the difference between protection and investments. The two are very different, and it's very important to understand that. And finally, the final pillar of financial well-being. So what is financial well-being? Financial well-being is the ability to control your finances, to have an understanding. You know, when you control, you understand what's coming in, and you understand what's going out. You understand what assets you have, and we're going to cover all of that off later today. Financial well-being is the ability to absorb a financial shock. Okay, life does not always go according to plan, and you do always need to have a buffer. I call it an emergency fund or rainy day fund. We're going to touch on that also a little bit later in the webinar. Financial well-being is about planning for your future financial goals and objectives and finding financial freedom to live the life you want to live. And I'm going to emphasize that many, many times today. It's about the life you want to live and your future financial goals and objectives. Before we go on, I want to stop and let you think. Today, I really want you to think deep about what is important to you, what is important to your family, and what do you want to achieve. I don't want you to think about social media. Social media is actually quite evil. If you look at Facebook and you look at Instagram, people are posting very unrealistic images, unrealistic posts. It may not be the truth. That perfectly curated Instagram post is not the reality. So I want you in the next 30, 40 minutes to really think about what's important to you. Okay? And your values, your goals, and your objectives. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the steps of how to determine your financial goals and objectives. We're going to talk about how you perform a financial stock take, how you develop a plan, and how you implement it and an ongoing review. These are 4 very important steps of coming up with a good financial plan. So let's talk about determining your personal objectives and goals. Like I said earlier, don't compare yourself to your neighbors. Don't compare yourself about that perfectly curated Instagram post. Think about what you want to achieve. Because investing or putting your money to good use should be aligned with what you want to achieve. When we look at our goals and objectives, we should break it down into short-term, medium-term, and long-term. Okay. Short-term is in the next 1 or 2 years. Medium-term, I would say 3 to 8 years, maybe 3 to 7 years. And long-term is really 7, 8 years plus. Now, why is it important? Why is it important to break your goals up? Because the way you invest or what you do with your money will be very different if it's a short-term goal versus a medium-term goal versus a long-term goal. And I'll give you an example. Say Sarah-Mae, she wants to buy her dream car next year. Fancy, shiny red, Porsche, Ferrari, whatever it is, okay? We're a bit materialistic. And so Sarah-Mae comes to me and she says to me, you know, Batya, I want to buy my dream car next year. Help me invest my money. And you know what I say? No. You know why? Because investing has risks involved. So if you have a short-term goal and it's the next 1 or 2 years, you actually wouldn't invest that money, you would keep it in cash. It's not the best solution. I know that interest rates are all low, but you would not want to take a risk of losing that money. So it's very important to understand, what are you trying to achieve in the next 1 to 2 years? Okay. Do you have enough money? Do you need to start saving more? Are you spending more money than you earn? Okay. It's a bit of a wake-up call. But once you write down your goals, and you know that over, I think 81% of people are more likely to achieve their goals if they write it down. You know, so write it down. And if Sarah-Mae's got this picture, use visualization of the red fancy Porsche, she's going to get it. But she's going to have to be disciplined. She's going to have to save. She's going to make her money work for her. Okay. If you have a medium-term goal, you know, again, what are you trying to achieve? How much money do you need? Should you invest some of it? Should you not invest some of it? Understand what are the risks involved. When it comes to investing, the shorter the time frame, the lower the risk you should take. The longer the time frame you invest for, the higher the risk you can take. So say you want to buy a house in 6 years' time. You wouldn't necessarily put all your money into something very high risk, just in case that the market drops. You'll probably take something a little bit more balanced, something a little bit in the medium. But say you're saving up for your retirement in 30 years, then you can put something into more adventurous. Then you can take a little bit more risk. But as long as you need to write down, what are you planning, what are you trying to achieve, when you're trying to achieve it, and try to work out how much money do you need to get there. Okay, very important. Once you have tangible goals, then you make your money work for you to achieve those goals. I love this quote by Jimmy Dean. I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. And why is this quote important? Because this quote is exactly what life's about. You know, you can't control what's going to happen. You know, no one predicted COVID last year. No one's got a crystal ball. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. But if you have a plan, and you've got to be a little bit flexible to understand that life is going to throw you curveballs and there's going to be uncertainty. And you just got to then adjust. You've got to go back to your plan and see, what else can I do? What can I tweak? And what can I change so I can get back on track? Okay? It's always easier when you have something in mind, when you know you have a goal and you keep revisiting and readjusting, just like life. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a financial stock take. Okay, and normally when I say financial stock take, people are like, they run out the room, or they end the webinar very quickly. Don't worry, it's not an accounting 101 session today. I'm going to very high level talk to you about why it's important to understand your finances. Okay. If you don't understand your finances and you don't understand where you are now, it's very difficult to plan for the future. So I encourage everyone to do a financial stock take. And the first thing you would do is you would look at your past financials. So go back and look at the past 12 months. Look what you've been spending. Look how much money you've earned. How much have you spent? 98% of people underestimate how much money they spend. So by going back and doing a revisit of what you may have spent in the past 12 months, it's a very interesting exercise to see, were you on track, or were you way over or way under? I personally was way under on travel last year. I think everyone was. But my grocery bill went up. We were eating more at home, so my grocery went up, but my travel went down. And it actually came out lower than it. It felt great. It was a good exercise to do. That then helps you understand where you are now. Okay, so once you look at the past and understand, you get a baseline for where you are now. And once you know where you are now, it helps you plan for the future. Now, how do we do this? We're going to go into two things that I'm going to explain to you. Number one is a balance sheet. And number two is what we call a profit and loss. Okay. What is a balance sheet? Like I said, it's not accounting 101 lessons. A balance sheet is really simply your assets and liabilities at a point in time. So today is the 21st, okay, of January. So if I'm going to ask you, if you ask me for my balance sheet, it's my assets and my liabilities, and hopefully not many liabilities, as at today's date. So if I were to say, what are assets? Assets are things that you own. And it's my bank account. So I bank with DBS. This is not a promotion for DBS. I'm just saying I bank with DBS. The balance at today's date is, I've got $50,000 in the bank. That's the balance sheet as at today's date. Other assets that will come in at your bank account, you've got investments, the value of your property, okay? Your mortgage is your debt. But what's the value of the property? Your car, your CPF or your retirement plan. What's the value today? Some people put jewelry and art. It's quite hard to value, but it's worth money. So anything that you own and has a value, that are your assets. Your liabilities, they're the bad guys. That's your debt. Your mortgage, your credit card debt, your tax liability, and your assets minus your liabilities give you your net assets. Easy peasy, very, very simple. This exercise should take 5 to 10 minutes, literally. You just get your balances, you top it up, and then every 6 months or every year, you just update it, okay? It shows you what your net worth is. Can be very empowering to see actually how hard you've worked and what you've accumulated over a period of time. The next thing we're moving on to is the profit and loss. Now, a profit and loss is generally over a period of time. A balance sheet was at a point in time. So normally a profit and loss is normally done over a 12-month period. Okay. If you work for a company, will have different financial year ends. If you do your own profit and loss, choose what period you want to do it. However, if you're doing a budgeting exercise and you want to work out what is your profit and loss, your personal one, and how much do you earn and how much do you spend, and what is your surplus, that's important, the surplus every month, I encourage you to do it on a monthly basis. Okay, it's much easier to think monthly than to think, oh God, the whole year I don't know what I spend. So don't set you up for failure. Don't set yourself up for failure. Set yourself up for success. You know what you earn every month. Put it in. Your bonus, and hopefully people on the call, you get bonuses. Now, bonuses, some companies get annually. So you would divide that by 12, okay? And you'd work out your monthly bonus. To get any other income, rental income, if you're in a sales role, to get a commission. So put that in and that would be your total income. Then you work out what your monthly expenses are. Most people in Singapore will be rent. If you've got kids, school fees, your foreign domestic worker, transport, medical, put everything down. Your food, your entertainment, your tax, your insurance. Again, travel. At the moment, no one, that will be zero, but let's be optimistic. In the future, we will be traveling. Take your annual travel budget and divide that by 12. to work out your monthly amount. Okay. Be as comprehensive as possible. And the best thing to do is look at the past 12 months. That will give you an indication of what you've spent. Plus think ahead. You know, so you may have children who are now going to school. You may have not had that 12 months ago. There will be additional expense. You may have purchased a new car. You may have new expenses. You know, you may have moved to a bigger apartment. So not only will your rent be more expensive, but so will your utility bills be more expensive. So try to be a bit forward thinking about what, you know, ongoing your expenses will be, because that will provide you a more realistic budget to understand. Your income minus your expenses is your surplus, which is how much you're able to save every month. And I'm going to give you a little bit of back of the exercise envelope, back of the envelope exercise, sorry, which is quite interesting because a lot of people say, for example, if I save $2,000 every month, I should have a minimum of $24,000 in my bank account. Okay, the math is easy to understand that. But what you often see is that people say, oh, I save $15,000 or $10,000 a month. And then you say, but why do you only have $30,000 in your bank account? So this little exercise is not about trying to prove something. You know, you need to be open and honest with yourself, because it's going to help you determine your future financial well-being. Most people struggle to work out what their expenses are. So here's a little trick: use an expense tracker. Now, I take the philosophy that you have to live life. Okay, you know, life is for living. You know to be penny pinching. You know, you don't want to say, I really want that cup, I'm not going to get it. If you love your coffee, go and treat yourself. Okay, but it does add up. And if you're not sure of where all those expenses are creeping in, an expense tracker is kind of good to keep for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Don't do this for the whole year. You don't want to drive yourself insane. You don't want money just to absorb every living moment of you. But it's just important, if you don't understand where things are creeping in, it's a nice little exercise. Also a little budget to put yourself in, you know, let's see how much I really do spend every day. All right, so we've done the financial stock take. So we've thought about our goals and objectives. We've done a little bit of our financial stock take of our assets, and we understand where we are now. And the next thing we're going to do, there are some other financial considerations that we should think about. Number one, an emergency fund, protection, and retirement planning. Okay. What is an emergency fund? Another way of calling it is called a rainy day fund. Okay. Now, life doesn't go according to plan. And if you were to lose your job, or you were to fall ill, or a family member was to pass away suddenly, your whole world and your whole financial situation is going to turn around very quickly. So it's very important to have an emergency fund, that what I call is a rainy day fund, and that if something were to happen in your life, you can rely on the money that's in the bank. Now, I know that leaving money in the bank in today's low interest rate environment is not a good idea. Okay. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to talk about inflation right after this, and I'm going to show you how leaving money in the bank is actually a really, really bad idea. However, you do need an emergency fund. An emergency fund will vary from person to person. You know, if you're single and you don't have children, your emergency fund can be less. If you've got 3 kids at private schools and you run your own business and there's a little bit of, you know, financial uncertainty, you would have more of emergency fund. But as a general rule of thumb, 4 to 6 months of your monthly expenses to be held as cash. Let me give you an example. If you spend $10,000 a month, your emergency fund will be between $40,000 to $60,000. Okay, minimum 40, around to 60,000, and maybe a little bit extra to help you sleep better at night. I think last year there was a lot of uncertainty about people losing their job. The economy wasn't great. So being cautious and being conservative, I told most people to hold a little bit more because that's going to help you sleep better at night. But you don't want to hold too much money as cash. Like I said, interest rates are at an all-time low and there's a risk of inflation. I'm going to show you this. If you had $1 million and you left $1 million in the bank and you did nothing with it, and we're going to use a 3% inflation because 3% is the inflation rate for Singapore. So if you had $1 million, you left in the bank account, you did nothing with it for 10 years, that money would depreciate to $743,000. And if you left it there for 20 years, it would depreciate to $552,000. These numbers are real. Don't overlook the impact that inflation can have on the spending power of money. Okay? Markets often drop, but they always recover. Whereas inflation's always reducing the value of your money. Okay, very, very important to understand. Okay, so if you're holding cash, you hold minimum 4 to 6 months, maybe a little bit more. Anything above that, you should make it work for you. How? Invest it or help it work towards your goals and your objectives. The second part I want to talk about is protection. Okay. Protection, and what I'm going to talk more specifically about is insurance and why this is important. Protection is about protecting your life and protecting your family's lives. It's very different to investments. With investment, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get the best possible return for your money. So if you're going to invest in the stock market, or you're going to invest in equities or ETFs or property, you want to get the best possible return, right? Yeah. But when it comes to protection, you want to protect your life. You want to protect your health. You want to protect your family. So investments and insurance should be treated separately. Okay? Invest one thing and insurance is separate. If you don't have children, do you need life insurance? No, you don't. Because who are you protecting? Who you looking after? Unless you're supporting maybe out with family members. Okay? And I really urge you to take some time to understand what insurance do you have? Do you have enough insurance? Well, to be honest, no one can really have too much insurance. But in Singapore, a lot of people do. They overinsure. That means they're paying very, very expensive premiums for something that they don't need. How long do you need insurance for? We're all going to die eventually. Okay? So, if I'm looking at myself, yes, I will have life insurance until my children go to university. Once they go to university, they're on their own. I don't need to protect. I don't need to insure myself because I'm not protecting anyone. Circumstances will vary from individual to individual. but it's important to understand how much you're insured for. Is it enough? Is it too little? Is it an appropriate term? Do you understand the different terms and conditions? You know, with critical illness, do you understand what copay is? Insurance can get complicated. So I highly encourage you to review this or go and speak to someone who can help you. The last thing you want to be doing is wasting money on paying premium for something that you don't need or not a good product, or thinking you have insurance and you actually don't. That's even worse. Thinking that, you know, you insured for something and you end up in hospital and you realize you have to fork that money out of your emergency fund. Okay, so as part of being very holistic and having a good financial plan, it's understanding all elements of your finances. The final pillar that I'm going to touch on today is retirement planning. Now, when I say retirement planning, people are like, oh no, we don't want to think about the future. I'm so happy, I love my life now. Let's just enjoy life. Okay, great. Yes, enjoy life. But everyone works so hard, or you or your spouse work so hard, that there's going to come a point in your life when you will stop working or you want to slow down. And at that point in your life, you don't want to stop and say, oh, I don't have any money. You know, so the World Health Organization recently did a study, and it shows that the average person is going to run out of money 10 years before they die. 10 years before they die, because people are living longer. And women are on average live 5 years longer. So it is so important to plan for the future. I want you to think about a few things. I've got pen and paper, write it down. I want you to think about what age you want to stop working. You may not ever stop working, but eventually you'll slow down. I want you to think about where you want to live when you stop working. If you're going to live in Singapore, or you're going to live in Phuket, or you're going to live in London, or you're going to live in Sydney, the cost of living is significantly different. So it's important to understand where you want to live. What lifestyle do you want to have when you stop working? Do you want to travel the world first class and drink expensive champagne and buy designer handbags? Or do you want to lie on the beach? Do you want to meditate and eat organic and drink organic juices? The cost of living would be very different. Okay, so my financial advice to you would be very different. So this goes back to thinking about what's important to you. What are your goals? What are your values? And dig deeper and get to that next level of where do you want to live? What lifestyle do you want to live? And this will then determine how much money do you need? How much money do you need? And are you on track to get there? If you're Singaporean, we've got a range of people on the call today. If you're Singaporean, you'd have a CPF. Will it be enough? If you're an expat and you're on an EP or a DP, you're most likely not contributing to a retirement plan. You could have a gap. Okay, so it's very important. I urge you, and you can sit down with a financial advisor, and they can work with you to work out where you are, what are your future retirement pot need to be, and how can you get there. Very, very important. The next thing I want to talk about is I'm going to go a little bit into about investment. There's not going to be a investment talk, but I'm just going to I want to leave you with some principles of investment that are very important to understand. But before I move on to that, I'm going to ask a question, and I want you to think about it. Do you think that investing is logical or emotional? Okay, you've all heard about the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the brain. Left-hand side is logic, and right-hand side is the emotions. Now, most people will actually say investing is logical, and it should be, but actually no. Investing is emotional. Look at this graph. And this shows you, say you decide to do some investing and you're optimistic and you're excited and there's a thrill going on and markets are going up and you're like, yes, I'm making money. And then all of a sudden something happens and you start to get anxious and you deny and you fear and you're desperate and you're panicking. Oh no, what am I going to do? Oh, and then you're totally depressed. Markets crash, you're depressed. But they start to pick up. And you're hopeful and you have relief and you're optimistic. And it's an emotional roller coaster. And are you buying and you're selling and you're buying and you're selling? Oh, terrible. Okay. The same if you look investing in property. You've seen this amazing apartment that you want to buy and you're all optimistic and then you've got hope. And then it goes to auction and you miss out on it and you become depressed. And then, you know, it's an emotional roller coaster. Investing should not be emotional, to be logical. Okay. When markets are down, you should never sell. You should be buying. If you think about it, would you rather buy something really expensive or buy something that's super cheap? You should actually be buying. So last year, when markets crashed in March, a whole lot of people sold off their assets at a very, very low price. Some people bought. Now, those people who actually entered the market at a low price ended up with a 25–30% return at the end of last year. Those people who sold lost a lot of significant money. Markets always recover. Okay? So the first thing that I say is that markets go up and go down. No one has a crystal ball. No one knows what's going to happen. But you cannot act emotionally. Okay, you need to act logically. And I'm going to explain to you the 5 most important principles of investing. Rule number 1. Invest for the longer term. Okay. Anything that's short term, anything 1 or 2 years, Sarah-Mae, for that red Porsche, you're not going to invest. Okay. But if it's for your future education planning or if it's for future retirement planning, longer term, I say anything 7 or 8 years plus. The longer you invest for, the better the return. Okay. No one, like I said, no one's got a crystal ball. No one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Don't believe anything you read in the press. The press does not know. But what I do know is if you invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio, you'll be better off than leaving your money in the bank. Okay, so those are one thing that I do know for certain. That leads on to rule number 2. Okay, make sure you always have sufficient money and deposit to meet your short-term needs. This is the emergency fund that we spoke about. Okay, so we've covered that all. Always have your emergency fund. 4 to 6 months of your monthly expenses sitting in cash. But more than that, that's going to be eroded by inflation. Rule number 3. Don't overlook the impact that inflation can have on the spending power of your money. Inflation, your money is losing value every day. Okay, don't underestimate that. Rule number 4. Diversify your investments as widely as you can. Okay. As one, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Okay. And how can you diversify? Diversify across asset classes, diversify across geographies, locations, asset classes, I said fund managers, different risk levels. The more you diversify, the better. Okay, something may be going up, but something will be going down. So it should hopefully even itself out. And rule number 5, understand your own personal financial goals and objectives. Make sure that you're investing for what you want to achieve, not what your neighbor wants to achieve or your friend, what you want to achieve, and make sure your money is working for you. These are very 5 important rules. Now, these rules apply whether we are in 2019, 2020, 2021, or 2051, okay? Whether we're in a pandemic or not a pandemic, these rules stay the same, okay? The basic principles of investing. Instead of saying I don't have time, try saying it's not a priority and see how that feels. Looking after your financial well-being and the financial well-being of your family is absolutely important. I know it may not be fun or sexy or interesting, but once you do it, you feel a massive sense of relief, peace of mind, and know that you are maximizing your money to reach the goals and the life you want to live now and in the future. Thank you. So what I want to do now is open up for questions. Just to let you know, those are my details. I'm happy to answer any question now. If you have any personal questions that you don't feel comfortable asking, you can send me an email or send me a WhatsApp. I'm more than happy to discuss this with you privately. If you want to come and see me, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you after the webinar. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing and we can open up to questions. So please,
yes.
Don't be shy. There's no such thing as a dumb question. Okay.
So Batya, we have a couple of questions that have been sent to me. Someone's asking,
okay,
when should I rebalance my portfolio?
When should you rebalance your portfolio? Very good question. You should rebalance your portfolio. Look, you have a financial advisor, your financial advisor should be rebalancing for you. Depends on what you invested in. As a rule of thumb, every quarter, every 6 months, or if there's a significant market crash or something happens. Any good fund should be rebalancing monthly or quarterly. Try to do a quarterly, 6 monthly, max, or at the very least, annually. Okay, so yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so Gaia and Jean, if you've got any questions, please feel free to type it into the Q&A section. Someone's asking, will my CPF be enough to retire on?
Okay, that depends on your personal circumstances. So, like I said, this doesn't constitute financial advice because you depend where you want to live and what lifestyle you want to live, and how long you've been working for and how much is in your CPF. So I cannot say specifically, but as a general rule of thumb, CPF is not enough to retire on, and people should making sure that they're making the money work for them and supplementing with other sources.
Okay.
But yeah, it's purely personal circumstances.
Okay. And some people are a bit of, kind of upset that they haven't started planning for retirement early. So what if you're like 60? Is it too late to start planning?
Never too late. Never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late. I urge and encourage everyone to start planning now. There's no better time than the present. Obviously, the shorter the time frame, you've got to actually get your money to work harder for you. So the longer you have to invest, the easier it is. The beauty of compound interest. Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world. He who knows it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Okay. So the beauty of compound interest is if you just put $1,000 or $2,000 away every month, you'll be amazed to see how this money can grow in the next 10, 15, 20 years. So never too late. Start doing something now.
Okay. So someone's saying, times are hard. I've been having trouble saving much, let alone worrying, thinking about retirement. What can I do to start now?
Okay. Look at your expense tracker. Okay. So go back to the expense tracker and start looking at where you are spending your money. Okay. You need to make sure that you're coming out at the end of each month. Do not rely on your credit card. Rip your credit card up. Okay. You don't want to be paying those super high interest rates to the bank. So that's the first thing. You need to make some lifestyle changes. And sorry, have that tough conversation with yourself. Do you really need that handbag? Do you really need, that extravagant meal out? Look at ways how you can start saving money. Okay. And then once you're saving, then it's quite empowering. Let me tell you, put yourself budget, set yourself a goal. And then you can start saving more and more money, and look at other ways that you can create passive income.
Okay, so someone investing question though, rates are down with working from home now in place in companies and will probably be adapted permanently by most. Would you advise against getting in them?
In what? Inside? In?
Let me just... Maybe if you can clarify REITs, R-E-I-T-S.
Real estate investment trust.
Oh,
okay.
See, I was like, is that an acronym? Yeah.
Investing in real estate investment trust.
Okay.
Look, in rates, it's they are down at the moment. So I'm not going to give individual investment advice, but what I always say is, number one, don't invest in something that you don't understand. Okay. So speak to as many people as possible. If you invest, make sure it's part of a well-diversified portfolio. Okay. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. If they are down, yes, it could be an opportunity, but understand what you're investing in and make sure it's well-diversified. Have a little bit of rates, have a little bit of equities, have a little bit of bonds, have a little bit, and make sure that your money is working for you. Another thing that I'd add is understand what your risk profile is. Very important to understand. Are you a low risk investor, a medium risk investor, or a high risk investor? And what you would invest in should correlate to your risk profile. And I'll give you an example. I had a client who came to see me and he said to me, I'm a very, very low risk investor. I said, okay. He was invested in oil and gas, okay? And he lost a lot of his money. And I said to him, why are you invested in oil and gas? That's super high risk if you're a low risk investor. So you need to understand what your risk profile is and make sure what you invest in is highly correlated with your profile.
Okay. What are some common questions that you get asked from maybe younger females who have no idea where to start with investing?
A lot of people say, I don't know where to start. And I say, seek some financial advice.
Yeah.
Go and find someone who you can trust, someone you can talk to, someone who can give you good advice that you feel will work for you in the future. Become educated. Never invest in something that you don't understand, and start making a plan. Don't rely, as soon as you're working, don't rely on your parents, don't rely on your partner. Be independent. It's so empowering, and make sure you, like I said, go back to being educated. But seek help. Not everyone, you're not expected to do it by yourself. And the same, like, if you want a haircut, you want a new hairstyle, you go get a haircut. You got a hairdresser to do it. You're not going to go do it yourself. So seek advice with a professional, with someone who can help you.
Okay. So I think there are no more questions. We'll just leave a minute or two in case anyone wants to type in their questions. But if not, people can just reach out to you. Batya, you've given, maybe I might flash your screen again. Let me share my PowerPoint. So that, can you see that? Oh, not yet. Let me just share my screen. You can't see my screen, can you?
No, we can't.
Okay, maybe I'll start sharing. Share screen. There we go. Okay, yeah. Oh, I've just hidden the show, slideshow, play from start. There we go. Okay, so I think what you can do, oh, Batya, I don't have your contact details, but you've already put your details before. So if people want to reach out to you, I guess they can just reach out via email or just Google, I guess, Batya Shulman, and you're a partner at St. James Place, so you're quite easily traceable.
Yeah, so Batya Shulman, my email is batya.shulman@sjp.asia, or you can email, I can share, or you can send me a WhatsApp or call or connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so feel free to reach out. Or if you forget, just email Sarah-Mae and she can give you my details.
Yes. What we'll do is we'll send all the participants your details so that they can reach out to you if they need to.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Batya, for sharing your very insightful and very animated talk about financial, just financial well-being. I loved what you shared about well-being. You started about well-being and then you went into protection and basically all the pillars that we need to know about, but we have no idea where to begin. So you've given us a really good introduction. So thank you so much, Batya.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, have a good day. And to the rest of you, have a lovely rest of the day and join us for the next lunch hour. We'll be looking at real estate investing. Okay, bye now.